Tim, we can't open the player list that you just emailed out. All it says is Gainesville players on this last email you sent. But there's nothing for us to open, or at least I can't find it.
All right, I'll try to send it again.
Thank you.
That document we will be sharing as part of the presentation.
Mr. Finch, are you ready?
Marvin, can you let Jim back in? All right, it looks like Jim's back in.
I think, guys, call. And sorry, need to call the meeting to go over the date and live for your name. Marvin, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and do the roll call.
Okay. Scarlett Grantham.
Here.
Steve Waters. Steve Waters. Bobby Brewington. Bobby's on there.
I'm here, Marvin.
Steve, Bobby Brewington here.
Here. I'm here.
Okay. Eli. Flanell.
Here.
Ryan Montgomery.
Here.
Mike Thompson.
Here.
Steve Simpson.
Here.
Jose Fernandez.
Here.
Joe Masters. So you got.
All right, I believe we have a quorum here. And Dr. Scott, would you like to open up the proceedings with any kind of explanation from the office before we let Gainesville speak?
Certainly. We're here today to appeal suspensions that were levied on Gainesville's team. Adam, I know he's here and he can introduce those people that are with them. As we look through this, as anything, we want to try to get things right. But we have viewed tape and looked at this thing and made our decision. And then, of course, Gainesville would like to appeal that. And that's what we're here to do this morning. Alan Connell is here with me. If anybody has any questions, in that area, and we'll just begin this process, Jim, and start that way.
All right. So, Adam, if you want to go ahead and open up proceedings from Gainesville's end, feel free to go ahead and start.
Absolutely. I'd like to just start by introducing who we have with us, and then I'm going to turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Jerry Williams. To my left here, this is Coach Josh Niblett, our head football coach. To his left is the chairman of our Board of Education, Mr. Andy Stewart. And then Dr. Jeremy Williams is on the other screen. So I'll let Dr. Williams kind of start us off.
Yeah, well, good morning, everybody. And just Dr. Scott, Coach Russell and GHSA, thank you so much for not only a prompt response from Friday's incident, but also the communication with Gainesville and all of us. So we have the opportunity to appeal. Appreciate that. To the Board of Trustees members and everyone else that's on here, thank you so much for taking time out of your Thanksgiving break. I know this time of the year we kind of get spread far and thin in many ways. And so thank you for your participation on this Tuesday morning as we head into Thanksgiving break. I also like to thank Steve Waters and Glenn County Schools and the police department there, and everything that we encountered Friday night was great communication with he and his team, and you couldn't ask more from the response that we've had from Steve and that team in Glenn County. So it's just greatly appreciated. Appreciate Adam, Josh, and also my board chair, Andy, being on the call with us today. As you can tell, I'm not there with them. I am on vacation with my family, and I've had to apologize a lot over the last day and a half as we head home later today about come back from Brunswick, head up to the mountains a little bit, and got to apologize to my family. And then my wife reminded me that I've got my family that's on this call that I'm representing. And we've got a number of kids that we'll be talking about today that I've gotten to know over the years in my 9 years as superintendent. So just thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I want to be very clear that as we start this appeal process, we are not appealing everything that was levied by GHSA. We are not appealing the structure of fines of $5,000, nor are we appealing the severe warning status. We believe those are things that we can accept due to the negative publicity for Gainesville High School, but also GHSA, and taking time out of everybody's schedule to do so. We are, however, appealing of the 39 ejections. We are appealing 35 of those ejections. Those 39 were provided by Coach Niblett and his staff in a self-report to GHSA Sunday evening. We'll go into those numbers a little bit later as we get into that, but we'll be appealing 35 of the 39 ejections. And that would be due to them actively participating in the altercation by throwing a punch. So all of us on this call, you know, this is, we can narrow it down to one thing, but the reality is this is not about football. This is not about Gainesville. This is about showing how rules cannot always be equally applied in every situation. There is a gray area that we live in as administrators, and all of us know that. We've all played sports. We played sports at the high school level, coached at the high school level. We've had varying degrees of success at those levels. We can all name coaches who were instrumental in our development as a person, but also as a competitor. We all grew in those times. We learned a lot of different things as young men, young women. In those environments, we relied on each other to fill the gaps and to support each other. The Gainesville High School football program builds the individual first, then the student, then the athlete, and then the football player, in that order and for a reason. None of the other stuff matters if your character doesn't come first. And I've seen firsthand the transformation of this program and the numerous men it has impacted over the last 4 years. Countless hours with this team, lifting since January, spring practice, off-season workouts, summer workouts, team bonding experiences, 2 scrimmages, 12 games. I've been there for a lot of it just to see and witness. Blood, sweat, and tears. All ended Friday without closure because 2 players decided to end it for both programs. The media portrayal of the melee, altercation, brawl, whatever you want to call it, lasted only 30 seconds. Any suggestion beyond that is just false. From the time that one of our students was hit to the time things were truly separated, it was 30 seconds. While we do not condone fighting, there is a limit, and our limit was reached Friday night. When 2 players have their helmets ripped off, punched, and then a helmetless player was barreled over, what would any team do? We'd respond. And we did respond. But the majority of them did not respond to escalate, but to de-escalate. What did the official do that was standing 5 feet away? He threw a flag and stepped away during the assault. And that was before their 6'6", 300-pound lineman came running from 40 yards away, full sprint, at a defenseless player that may weigh 160 pounds. They had nothing to lose and decided it was on the first play after we went up 42-0 in the third quarter. The conflict resolution guidance for officials from GHSA was not followed. Their defensive player number 77 should have been ejected long before the altercation, but was kept in the game after repeated offenses. Yet here we are, paying the price for holding our composure during the assault and only responding when it was absolutely necessary. After 3 assaults, and once their team left the sidelines, did we respond? Every true team would have done the same thing, including yours. And I hope and pray that you are not in that situation. In the officials' report, only 2 players were ejected that was submitted to GHSA. That was number 13 and number 77, number 13 and 77. 2 things we want to look at today are the self-report that we provided GHSA, and then we want to look at the sideline video that started the brawl. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Coach Niblett and Mr. Lindsay as they talk about that self-report, the list of players, what they saw on the video, and kind of what we submitted to GHSA. Adam, Josh.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Marvin, could you go ahead and pull up that color-coded roster that I sent you, please, so everybody can see that?
Adam, he made you a co-host, didn't he? So you could share?
I sent everything to him, so it'd be easier for one person to have it all.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we gave you that opportunity if that's
Yes.
what you wanted to do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So as he pulls this up, as Dr. Williams mentioned, we are not appealing all 39 suspensions. We recognize that some of those kids were actively aggressors when things got out of hand. They did throw punches, and for those 4 kids that we recognized as part of that self-report, we are not appealing their suspension. But we kind of broke everybody into 3 groups, and I color-coded this for your viewing pleasure. The 4 kids we are not appealing are in red. What are 10 defensive players that are on the field are in green, and then the others that stepped onto the field are in yellow. Want to first address the kids that are in yellow. Obviously, we had 11 defensive players on the field. One of those, number 35, was a defensive player on the field. We noted him as somebody that threw a punch, and therefore he is not a part of our appeal process. But we do feel very strongly that those 10 listed in green were on the field. They didn't have a choice. They were there. Most of them never even left that side of the field. The line of scrimmage was on the 10-yard line. The altercation happened at the 50. The vast majority of those kids stayed in that area. And it's, we're of the opinion, if those kids, were they supposed to run off the field to not be a part of things? So for us, just those defensive players should be automatically exempt from the being on the sideline, being a part of things as a part of this. Want you to look through the rest of this roster, the ones in yellow. As Dr. Williams mentioned, our coach, the side judge, and you'll hear this from Coach Niblett, when things got out of hand, the side judge turned to Coach Niblett and said, "Hey, go get your players." Coach Niblett stepped forward, and we had some players that kind of followed him. For the most part, the vast majority of those kids stayed behind our coaches, which is why it made it so easy for us to control things. So we are kind of lumping those 2 groups together, and those 2 groups are the ones that we're appealing. Coach, you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, just, I'll go through my whole thing when everybody's done as far as going through the players, because I want you to hear it from a head coach's standpoint. So I'm going to hold my comments until we get all the roster done.
Okay. Marvin, can you pull up the social media video? Because I think it's very important that for context purposes, everybody has to see exactly how this started. We noted, early on in this game that some things were getting contentious. We notified the officials multiple times of punches being thrown that were not addressed by ejecting a player. Sometimes we had one incident, and I have a video of it, where a player was being punched multiple times in the face while he's standing there, both hands up, and that player was not ejected. Which kind of just continued to lead to the mismanagement of the entire game. But I want y'all to see first from this social media video taken from the Brunswick sideline. It's the best view that we've been able to find as to how this whole instance unfolded. Go ahead and play that one, please, Margaret.
Marvin, you working on that?
As he's figuring out getting that video playing, what this video shows is it shows number 13 at the end of the play, grabbing the helmet off of one of our players, ripping it off, slinging him and ripping it off, and then turning and punching that player in the face. Our player sticks both hands up. Okay, did exactly what we'd want him to do. We have another player that steps in between them because, again, at this time, the official has backed up and moved away from this. So one of our players steps up in between the two of them. And the number 13 from Brunswick grabs his helmet, rips his off, and then punches him in the face. Right following this, number 77 from Brunswick, who was a left tackle who had been back at the 10-yard line at the line of scrimmage, comes into the screen where he is sprinted from the 10-yard line all the way to the 50 and just barrels out our number 20, who again is standing there with his hands up, not wearing a helmet, completely unprotected. And at that point is where, just us as coaches or, family members that have kids or have siblings, ask ourselves, the official did not do his job in stepping in the middle of the two players. At what point are our kids allowed to protect themselves or protect their teammates? Because at that point, our kids are not being protected. And I think that's kind of the overarching issue. I feel like, that we're dealing with. Did Marvin leave us?
Marvin, where are we at? Oh, there it is.
Thank you.
So Marvin, can you pause it right there?
So right here, you see 13.
He's already pulled one helmet.
He's already pulled one helmet off, pulled the second one off.
And then he punches, and then him and 1 and 13 charge our kids.
Then you'll see coming from the left, 77
Yeah.
comes through, blindsides.
He's going to hit the kid without a helmet on now. He could have traumatically killed this kid.
And I think just, everybody that's on the board, I just think you have to ask yourself, at what point, are our kids allowed to protect themselves, protect their teammates? That's the situation where we've had 2 kids had their helmets ripped off, punched in the face. They stood there with their hands up, and then you have a kid sprinting 40 yards and completely knocks the kid out. I mean, it's not like anything that I've ever seen. And I feel like, at the end of the day, our coaches obviously always have a fight plan. And it was instituted, I think, to the best of our ability in that situation. But at what point, where's the line at, for instances along this line? Marvin, can you pull up the other video that I sent as well? Because I think to help kind of give some context of how the game was mismanaged and handled all night.
Adam, if you don't mind, what number was the kid that 77 ran down the field right there at the beginning and ran into?
I believe there was number 20. It was number 20 is the one. He was the second kid that had his helmet ripped off, and then the one that 77 knocked out. And thank you for reminding me about that, Kurt. Just want to mention too, number 26 and 22 had their helmets ripped off, punched by a kid. One of them got speared. Those 2 kids were on the list of kids that got ejected. I don't understand what they did wrong. What else could they do in that instance?
Adam, can you repeat those numbers of the kids that had their helmets ripped off for me?
It was 20 and 26.
Yeah. Go ahead and play this other video, Marvin. Marvin, are you still there?
While we're waiting on Marvin to pull that out, Coach Niblett, if you will, just talk about the process and leading up and everything that's kind of on your heart right now?
Well, this is an emotional time for me and emotional time for our program. I've been coaching for almost 30 years. I've been a head coach for 26 years. It's the first time I've ever been a part of something like this. And many of you on here don't know me, don't know what I stand for, don't know what our program stands for, what we teach our kids on a day-to-day basis. I'm a passionate man who wants to impact kids' lives and add value to them. And I just want you to know from our standpoint, like, we don't condone fighting. You come to our practices, if you break into something, you come off the field. If you'll watch during the game in the second quarter, they had a guy run his mouth at our guy said something back. I took our guy off the field. I said, hey, if you can't keep your mouth closed, you won't play tonight. Their guy didn't get pulled off the field. So I'm going to handle it from our standpoint. You can be assured of that. And I do handle it. And our kids' character during the game was impeccable. And I knew going into the week, after watching last week's game against Winder, that there were going to be some issues. And I had warned our kids all week about, hey, it's going to be a physical game, but if you watch them, they talk a lot during the game. And you have got to do a good job of keeping your composure. And for the most part, all the way up to the end, that's what our kids did. You go back and watch all the film. But we had a kid get punched 4 times in the face in the end zone with his hands up. And they don't eject 77, and they call offsetting penalties, and our kid's got his hands up. But if 77's not in the game, what happens at the end does not happen. So let me go back to the start. We're on the field to start warm-ups. Not sure what they're showing. And we're on the field warming up, doing activation. We got there before they did. When we go in our locker room, we change. Our kids go out. You know, we kind of warm up, do bands. Our kids are just kind of out there. Well, they're not there. Well, they show up. And they're on the back line, and their system AD comes down to me and goes, hey, we need you to get off the field. And I was like, sir, excuse me? He's like, yeah, nobody normally gets here before we do. We're walking the field. We need you to get off the field. And I was like, all right. So I moved our guys off the field. They walk all the way down through our end, have a prayer, do a chant, and then walk back through us again to go back to the other end. Well, our kids don't say one word, not one word. But then when warm-ups were over with, I've never been talked to coming off the field like I was by their players coming off the field. And I just was like, told the kids in warm-ups, it's like, look, just get ready. I'm just telling you, get ready. We were in a tough situation, but our kids did an unbelievable job. But the officials, I'm just telling you, from the start to the finish, you know, I just have an issue with when you don't manage the game. And I just got to tell them, hey, the guy punched our guy. There were 6 instances where our guys got punched. There was 4 incidents where our guys got their helmets ripped off, and nothing was done at all. At some point in time, you got to take up for yourself, right, wrong, or indifferent. But at the end, the problem I have with the end is this. The week before, they scored 78 points. And at the end of the game, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but I call it etiquette. Their starters were still in the game. Their starting running back was the one that scored the last touchdown, number 10. So I knew we held them to 0 points. But let me tell you something. If this ruling holds up, what we've done is we've set a precedent that, hey, look, if you're down 42, just get them to get in a fight. You can ruin their playoffs also. Because I have an issue with that. Because this was instigated. This is not something that just happened. And you can say whatever you want to say. But I know our players. And look, this is the most unified team I've coached in a long, long time. And they're brothers. And I'm going to ask you a question. If you got siblings, if you got a wife, you got a husband, and they were on that field and they got their helmet ripped off and then got jabbed in the face, what would you do? Oh, you might stay on the sideline. Well, let me tell you this, when your brother doesn't have a helmet on and a guy takes a 40-yard sprint and hits him and sideswipes him, you're just going to stand on the sideline? No, you're going to do what's natural. And you're going to protect your brothers. And that's the way I raise these kids, to have each other's back. And that's what I think needs to be known here. The guys that threw punches, hey, they need to be out. They need to be ejected. But the guys that tried to help their brothers, I don't think they should. I do not. And I don't understand how 11 guys on defense, how we had one of them that threw a punch. He should be ejected. The other 10 that weren't involved, I don't understand how you eject guys. What, is there a time limit to get off the field? Like, are they supposed to sprint off? We got 2 guys on the other end helping the quarterback up off the ground. They don't even go down there. And they're on the ejection list. The guys that got their helmets pulled off and punched, they're just standing in the middle of the field with their hands up. They got ejected. The credibility of the ejections does not hold up with that. I mean, that's what I don't understand. And look, I'm going to always follow the rules. Mr. Scott, you can always count on me to follow the rules and hold our kids accountable to doing the right things. But let me tell you something. The only thing I struggle with today is this. Look, God's blessed me with an opportunity to get to do what I do every day. And I love these kids to death. And I'm always going to have these kids back. Right, wrong, indifferent. Ever how this goes. They know I got their back. And they know I love them. And they love each other. If you come here and you walk up in our top floor, you listen to our guys when they leave every day, they tell each other they love each other. So if you're going to expect guys that love each other to sit by and let somebody take advantage of somebody, all right, and then cause an issue, you're wrong. And you know what? In this day and time, we're trying to teach team. We're not trying to teach individuality. The things that they did on their side with the kid ripping the helmets off and 77 hitting our guy was individuality. When our guys came to our guys' rescue, that was team. Now, maybe we should have done the wrong thing and been right, but I think we did the right thing, and then maybe we're considered to be wrong. But all I ask is for you in your heart to do the right thing, to open your heart up for these kids. This ain't about me, but this is about these kids that have worked their tail off for this opportunity. And we drove 6 hours. We drove 6 hours to this game, playing a team that's averaging 551 yards on offense. They're averaging over 40 points a game. They just scored 78 points. We got to sit in a hotel for 4.5 hours before we go over to the field. Our kids have dealt with a whole lot. And then all of a sudden we win 42-0 with 2 minutes left to go in the third. And then now this is going to happen. And now we're going to take this away from our kids. I can't stand by for that. That's why we're on the appeal today. And if you got a heart and you know right from wrong, you know this is wrong. This is wrong. I don't understand what you expect kids to do. The other thing is when the side judge said, go get them, we had kids standing there. How does a kid not know that he wasn't talking to them? So that's another discrepancy that was told to our kids. I was told to go on the field twice. On the field twice. I've never been told to go on the field. I've always been told to stay behind the white. So I don't understand that either. So there's management that was lost there. So there's a lot with this. And look, I'm all about bylaws and rules. But this rule is not black or white in this instance. There's a gray area. And there's a safety area. And I have an issue with this. When a kid should have been ejected earlier in the game, he should have been ejected. If he did, listen to me now, if he's ejected, the kid doesn't get sideswiped. You watch the video. When they ripped our helmet off and they punched our guy, you look at our guys. Nobody charged anybody, and the sideline was still the sideline. But when the guy sideswiped our guy, I'm just asking you, what would you do? I know what you do. You do what's natural. And what's natural for me is I'm going to protect my teammates. I'm going to protect them. So I just pray in your heart that you'll do the right thing by these kids. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Coach. You know, as Coach reiterated the emotion behind everything, we know today you have a decision to make about our appeal. And as I said at the beginning, we're not appealing everything. The $5,000 fine, the status, all that it is what it is. But to take away a senior activity for students who didn't do anything but just go out and defend their own after the sideline started to clear from Brunswick, after they had teammates assaulted. So all we're asking you to do today is just look at those ejection, the suspensions for the next game, and decrease that number down from 39 down to 4. The 4 that should have been ejected, you heard coach say multiple times, should be ejected. We don't have any objection to that at all. But the others, they didn't do anything wrong. They did everything that we would all do in that same situation that your teams would likely do. And if your teams didn't do that, I would ask if you had a team. So we're optimistic today that what you've heard, what you've seen, if we need to show the videos again, we'll be glad to. Slow it down, whatever we need to do, we will. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't excessive on our part. We were left with no other choice. When you think about your time as a player, when you think about your time as a leader, there are times we get very embarrassed by the actions that we see. But at the end of the day, I had people asking me Saturday and late Friday night, was I embarrassed? Was I embarrassed? The answer was no. Not going to let 5 or 6 kids ruin what Gainesville City Schools is about, what Red Elephants are about, what Coach Niblett and his program are about. Because at the end of the day, we got backed into a corner and we waited until the absolute last minute to do something. If you take a hardline look at that rule, yeah, they stepped off the sideline. But if they didn't step off the sideline, what was going to happen? So Board of Trustees, we appreciate your time today. We appreciate the time out of your schedule, the opportunity for us to kind of share from our heart and our perspective how we feel, what we've done, what we expect, and we do hope you will see it in the same way we do. Thank you.
Alan Connell, could you focus a little bit on the defensive players that were already on the field? They're admittedly they did not go onto the field when the fight started because they were already there. But could you focus on those defensive players that were already on the field and what actions, if any, those defensive players took?
Do you want me to address that? Are you asking us or are you asking the GHSA office?
Video evidence to present with regard to those defensive players that were already on the field. They certainly weren't in violation of leaving the bench to go on the field because they were already there. But with regard to their actions when the fight started, what they did and where they went, do you have anything to present with regard to those defensive players? I think that may help you.
I mean, if the GHSA has, I guess, whatever video they viewed, that can be looked at. I mean, certainly there's some of those players that when we looked at the video, we never saw them anywhere near the fight. You know, the ones that did move in that direction went over there to get between people or pull people back.
Do you know which ones those were?
The ones listed in green on the list I sent in.
Okay, they went toward the fight.
There were some of them that did, yes. I did not know which ones on that list.
Yeah, that's the ones that I'm talking about. Do you have anything, video or otherwise, that it shows what they did when the fight began?
We did not provide the video of the entire incident.
Adam, can I ask 2 questions?
Please.
Can just so I understand, how many players did you self-report, I guess Sunday or whenever you sent the stuff in? And then is there not an angle from Huddle or something that shows the field where we get a better look than some of the social media images?
So what we self-reported was the 39 that list that you have in front of you right now. That is what we self-reported. at request. Again, if the GHSA has, the video that they viewed, we did not submit a video of the entire incident.
Marvin, can you let Kurt Miller back in? He got kicked out.
Okay.
Kevin, is this one the one you're talking about
Yeah, I think so.
here? Where these are the defensive guys, and then it rolls on. I don't know if this is, there's one that's real short, you don't see a lot, and then there's one that's got a little more time in it. At that point, you can see the guys running and then the guys coming off the sidelines. Looks like all of them.
I think in this video, it's important to notice, you can see all of our coaches in red have our kids on the other side of our hash pretty quickly. Yes, do some of those defensive players go again to kind of help stop the situation, but at the end of the day, they're not the aggressors, minus the one that we noted did throw a punch.
We have access to the official game report from that night.
The official game.
Yes, sir. You want me to read it to you?
That would be fine.
I do want to note the official game report did not eject a single Gainesville player.
That is correct. Official game report ejected Brunswick 13 and 77. And then the official said during the third quarter at the 157 mark, an altercation took place around midfield area. Number 13 from Brunswick was punching a player from Gainesville. He was flagged for fighting. Number 77 from Brunswick ran approximately 30 yards downfield and participated in the altercation, punching and shoving Gainesville players along the way. He was flagged for fighting. At this time, the vast majority of non-players from both teams entered the field of play, crossing sidelines from both sides of the field. The non-players were participating on the field and most were participating in the melee. Due to the chaos and concern for the physical safety of the officials, numbers of non-players were not obtained, nor were numbers of the players in the game, as officials had to be concerned about keeping eyes on the melee so officials would not be attacked. School resource officers attempted to separate the brawling teams. That took some time. Eventually, order was restored. Both athletic directors agreed to terminate the game at the 157 mark in the third. The official crews discussed the report as the crews left the Brunswick High School football area. And that's the officials' report.
Adam, did y'all file unsatisfactory officiating report?
Yes, sir.
Everyone,
And if I can interject just a little bit, just from a coaching standpoint, like, look, I know officiating's officiating, and I know it's hard to get officials. But I just had a feeling, even in the pregame talk with them, that it was going to be maybe a different night. And when, like the game's going on, like there was no communication as far as like, hey, the guy just punched our guy. You know, like there was no communication. Like there was, you know, like we had one of our kids, one of our DBs get slapped in the face at the end of the game right in front of the official, and it's not even called. I don't know what we're supposed to do up to that point. I understand that there's a rule, but look, let me tell you something. When this happened here, if you weren't there and you couldn't feel it, then you have no idea what it was like. We were in a hostile environment for that to go on, and we're not at home, all right? And the officials, like, I don't have a problem with some of the calls, like, you know, there's holding, there's pass interference, all that. But the way they managed the game was probably the worst I've ever been a part of in my 29 years of coaching. And it didn't have to come to this. I can tell you that right now. And now we're being punished for a kid that should have been ejected before this happened. That's a senior, all right? Like, but yet we're the ones that's going to be punished for a kid that shouldn't even been in the game. If this don't happen with the waylay when he hit him, then there's not going to be anything. Now, if you watch the official, when the helmets get ripped off, like he backs up. I don't understand who's supposed to get in between the players, all right? But the guy in the middle, he backs up and he stays in this spot and he stands there. He never goes toward the deal to try to help out. So like our coaches are trying to get guys separated. But you can watch in the middle and you can see 77 running down. You can see this official, he's going to start backing up.
And the Brunswick sideline left before that altercation while ours reacted afterwards.
Dr. Scott. I just want to say, you know, I'm going to abstain from voting, obviously, but, you know, first of all, I apologize that we're all here today on Thanksgiving week dealing with this. Apologize for the time that the GHSA office has had to put into reviewing all this. We take full responsibility for our actions. What you've heard today is not incorrect. Number 77 and number 13 instigated the whole scenario. We will deal with that internally and externally, but you know, I do want to say that this whole incident would not have happened if it wasn't for two of our kids. And we're here today because, you know, of a lack of discipline on our part, and we'll take full responsibility for that. So we've got a lot of soul searching to do over the next few months, and we will do that and take care of it here. We're committed to doing that. But I do want everybody to know that, and I've said this to everybody I've talked to, but we take full responsibility for what happened on the field.
And Steve, you guys received a penalty as well.
Yes, sir.
Steve, were there any charges filed in relation to this? I mean, not trying to ask for confidential information, but were charges filed here?
We are looking into that. I don't want to say yes or no at this point, but it's certainly a strong possibility.
You said that there are 4 guys that you deemed threw punches, that you're not arguing their ejection. Watching this video that's been on repeat here, there's a couple of guys that go after number 77 from Brunswick, and then number 1 from Brunswick gets involved in it, and there's 4 to 5 guys that take him to the far end zone. Are those the guys that you're saying should be ejected, or is it someone different?
No, if you notice in that video, though, when those guys are pulling him off, he's one of the ones that's in the original one. So then when he gets pulled off, they get turned around, And then, but those guys right there, we did turn in one that had the punch. And then they pull him off. Like, they're not punching there. He punches there. So we had that one. The other one's just pulling him off, and then he tackles the guy to the ground. And then our guys run off.
Adam, is there any angles that y'all have that show the defensive players that were to the left, right in this area once the fight gets started, and the one if they don't do anything or they run off the field? I see towards the end, I see some kids walking off the field, but I don't know what numbers they are. I'm just trying to clarify what all the kids on the field, what they did.
Yeah. Definitively, we didn't have any video. I mean, what I can tell you is, obviously I'm here in the middle of this video. When we got all our people contained, I looked over to the left down to the 10-yard line and saw the Brunswick quarterback standing there with our number 8 and number 11. And I ran down there because, of course, thinking like, what are they doing? I didn't realize they had been standing there the whole time. The other players that may have been in the area, I didn't specifically able to denote their numbers. And we obviously.
And 35 was one that came down. We have down that threw a punch that it was on the field. 35 was.
But obviously, nobody was paying attention to that side of the field for video purposes.
Well,
Marvin,
I know in the program, the quality of both your guys' programs there, that somebody had an end zone camera rolling. Was it still rolling that would show a better view of who came on the field, who threw a punch, make numbers more clear? It's going to be hard to, from these videos we see, pick numbers and try, when we start talking about numbers of kids that should be ejected, to be able to see exactly what's going on. Does anybody have that video that would make things more clear for us?
I mean, we could check and see if our end zone. Yep.
We provided 7 videos to Georgia High School, and none of them are great. There are stadium security cameras along with Huddle and NFHS. It's really hard to pick out numbers. If Marvin can freeze it right there, if you look at the 10-yard line, that's our quarterback, and I believe number 8. I can't pick out the other number. Those kids never left the 2 in the back. I know never left the 10-yard line. I believe that's number 8. Kurt or Adam, I think you said the other number, but
correct. Yeah, 8 and 11.
They stood right there the whole time and never left the 10-yard line. And it was just almost like they knew what to do. And then number 7 over here for us on the 30-yard line stood there the whole time. But
Mark, can you roll that just so we can see?
You can see those 2 kids stay on the 10-yard line.
I guess the question I want to ask is, because I did see a video online and I saw a picture where it did have our number 8 and their quarterback in that area, but they were actually up close to the 20 or 30 because they just naturally moved up that way, but they're standing there talking. So are we getting so specific that if they take one step forward that they're moving towards the action? And I guess we have to look at this from a real big picture standpoint of, yeah, kids came off the sideline 1 step, 2 steps. Are we including them? Or are we talking about kids that were active in this? And so when I look at all this, everybody at some point moved towards everything, myself included.
Marvin, can you go to the beginning, show this video again? There's 7 white jerseys over here. 5 of them do cross the 50. Coach Niblett or Adam, do y'all know the 2 numbers that don't?
Yeah, number 11 and number 8.
Adam, did the actual altercation that started all this, well, the second part, it started near the 50, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so they ended up in the end zone though.
I believe, I don't, again, numbers are, very difficult to.
Right, but some kids did end up in the end zone.
Yes.
So the
Yeah.
incident started on the 50, people went out there to break it up, whatever.
Yep.
But there were kids that were far beyond the 50.
Correct.
Am I right? I'm just
Yes,
trying
ma'am.
to, okay, thank you.
You play that, Marvin, please.
Adam, question. On here, are we appealing the kids that were involved in the fight or the kids that came off the sidelines? And you did say that you self-reported, so you gave these 39 names, and now we're saying that we're retracting 36 of them?
I think our appeal is actually for 35 of the 30.
35. So out of the 39 that you self-reported, now we're appealing 35 of them, correct?
Yeah, I was reached out to by the office to ask who we saw as kids on the field and their involvement. So that is the list that I provided when I was asked to do so.
Yeah, Brian, we got that. We got a list from both Brunswick and Gainesville of those, exactly like Adam said, and they provided those.
Okay, so are we appealing the involvement in the fight or the running off the sidelines?
It's my understanding that they are appealing the penalty.
Correct.
That they should not have been ejected is what I believe. Adam, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, sir, you're correct.
And then ejections were for leaving the sidelines, or participating. And like I said at the first, if we've got something wrong, let's get it right, but
Adam, again, just to clarify, the 39 you sent in you were asked to submit the names of the players that were on the field or came on the field or whatever, but you were not saying 39 kids had an infraction.
Well, in our opinion, absolutely. I was asked to submit a list of what I submitted was numbers, no names, and what we felt like their involvement was.
Okay.
And that's what I submitted. It was certainly not submitting that saying, hey, these are the kids that need to be ejected. That was certainly not submitting that.
Hey, Petrosky, Kevin, he even placed on there that they did not participate. He labeled them all, so it was clear who he thought participated and who he thought didn't. Did I portray that correct, Adam?
Yes, sir.
Adam, did any of the kids that came off the sideline that once this started and they entered the field of play, did any of those kids get involved with the fight?
Yes, sir. We have four of or I guess one was a defensive player that we felt was an aggressor and threw a punch, and three were players that came off the sideline that threw punches or hit 77.
Okay.
And those are the ones on that list that I've denoted in red.
Dr. Scott, for clarity, can we share what the bylaw actually says about coming off the sidelines? Because I know we had questions about that, how far it was. Does it matter if they got involved or not?
I'll read
just
the
coming
rule
off
to
the
you.
sidelines, period? What does the rule actually state? Clarity.
It's bylaw, excuse me, this Alan Connell, it's bylaw 2.71D3. All players who are involved in a fight and all substitutes who leave the bench area during the fight or potential fight and are ejected from the current contest will be subjected to the sit-out rule.
I just want to point out on that rule, I think the important part of that line right there is the "and are ejected." we had no players ejected by the officials on that night as a part of the officials' rule. The ejection came later from the GHSA office.
Excuse me, the pertinent part of the bylaws is 2.72, which says any player, coach, a team attendant who's ejected will be suspended from levels of competition. No, I'm sorry, I misspoke. It is D4. The GHSA office may review film to determine participants in a fight situation or to determine athletes leaving the bench to go to a fight. Penalties may then be levied, modified, or changed based on the film review. That was the reason that Dr. Scott reviewed the film and determined that all of those that were charged either left the bench and entered the field or otherwise participated in the altercation.
I understand, Coach Niblett. I understand our kids left the bench. I know the bylaw. I know the rule. My question to you is, what were our kids supposed to do?
As a coach, you should have a plan for that.
I do have a plan.
And stop them from being
field because the official told me to go on the field.
But the coaching staff has a responsibility to keep the students on the sidelines.
You know, just my opinion, I haven't been a coach. I completely understand the feeling that Coach Newell has. I think everybody does. I think also, as having been in this situation long enough, we understand the importance of the bylaw about keeping people on the sideline. Because as coaches and players, we often feel like running out there to defend our teammate is going to help the situation. But I think what we've shown over time is that when players leave the bench and enter the area, it increases chaos naturally due to the fact that you're increasing the number of people into the situation. As tough as that is, watching this, I mean, that's a very clear bylaw that us as members have put in place and asked the GHSA office to follow. So just an opinion, but the way Adam has broken it down into 3 groups with the 4 people actively fighting, the people leaving the bench area, and then the people who are already on the field. I do think we should, just an opinion of mine, but I think we should look at the people who are on the field. I think that's the only group in my mind that has a legitimate case, and it's just my opinion. Those 10, because of the 11, 1 has been designated as an active participant in the fight. So those other 10 players is what I would like to spend a few minutes looking through, and that's just my opinion. And then I just wanted to share it for discussion purposes. And if Adam wants to retort to my opinion, or Coach Nibble or anybody, feel free.
I do just want to, I want to point out one thing, and obviously we're all looking at semantics on this. When you look at 2.71, nowhere in there does it say that players that leave the sideline are ejected. It says players that leave the sideline are subject to a fine by the GHSA, and then from there it leaves it up to the office to determine what they're going to do by reviewing the film. But nowhere on there does it say if you leave the sideline, you are ejected. Unless I'm missing it, Alan, please tell me if I'm wrong.
The pertinent part is subparagraph 4 there that says that after review of the videos, the GHSA office can either levy, modify, or change the penalties.
Agreed. There were no penalties thrown by on the officials on Gainesville. And again, my point is, and it may be a bad one, is that nowhere on there does it say if you leave the sideline, you will be ejected. That's my only point.
Well, it says if you If
Am
you
I-
leave the bench during the fight and are ejected, you will be subject to the sit-out rule.
Yes.
After review of the video, the GHSA office determined an ejection. And based upon an ejection, they were then subject to the sit-out rule.
That's exactly my point.
Mr. Connell or Dr. Scott, has this happened before? Have we set a precedent before when kids have left the bench either at football or basketball or any other sport? Has this happened?
Yes, yes, ma'am. We have ejected people for leaving the bench area or the, yes, sideline, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Now, C. Wright, I don't know if he's on here. He could probably tell you how far back this goes because he's been compliance for the last 12 years.
Dr. Scott, if I can ask you a question, and
Yes, sir.
look, I'm not trying to justify what happened, but I think everybody's got to put the human element in this also. I understand that we have bylaws. I understand our kids came off the bench. I understand a couple of our kids punched. But when does somebody else get held accountable for it too? I'm not saying suspension. Their team doesn't have to worry about playoffs this year. They might get a playoff, not play next year. But my thing is this: when the kid punched our guy, if 77, I say this over and over again because I was there. I don't know how many people on this call were there. You didn't see what the kid did the whole game, but he never got ejected. If he gets ejected, I'm telling you, none of this happens. But we're the one that's got to serve the penalty, and none of this would have happened. I'm telling you, none of it. And now that it's happened, now we're the one being punished for it when our kids acted like they were supposed to the whole ball game. The whole ball game. I mean, that's the only issue that I have. I understand that there's a bylaw. I understand that you feel like maybe you got to stick to your guns, set a precedent. But this is a chance for you to set a precedent too. Also, that, hey, this wasn't right. I mean, this was not right. I mean, look at that kid running 50 yards. I mean, it's not right. I mean, I don't know what you want our guys to do when that happened. I mean, that's what I struggle with. That's why I hadn't slept the last 3 nights. I mean, I don't know what else to do. I mean, you can say have a fight plan, stay on the sideline. Hell, I'm not going to stay on the sideline. I'm not. And my kids aren't because they love each other. I mean, because when a guy blindsides a guy, none of our guys came off the sideline when the 2 helmets got ripped off and they got punched in the face. But when 77 sideswiped our guy without a helmet on from 40 yards away, I don't know when no official was going to step in. All right. And that's the reason it got that way. I guess we just let the kids stay down there and just get pummeled. But I'm not going to do that. And I apologize for the passion that I have, but I'm going to stand up for my team. And I'm not condoning every part of this thing because I know it puts a black eye on a lot of stuff. But if you weren't there and got to feel the whole night, then you really don't understand what transpired. This video does not do it justice. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
Dr.
hey,
Scott,
and I'll tell you this, I appreciate the passion. I'm glad you guys are doing this, but as the GHSA executive director, I can't allow both benches to empty onto a court or a field because, as Eli said, that just picks the temperature up. I get where you're coming from. I coached for a long time. I've been a part of it for a long time, but students, and in a fight situation in a school, having other kids run to a fight situation can cause injury and things that happen that are unintentional. And therefore, we have to follow the bylaw. That's what we have to do. Then there's an appeal process. That's why we have this. If I've not got something right, then we can get it correct. But that's why we have this process.
So, Dr. Scott, I'd like to ask a question if I could.
Yes, sir.
And
Who is this?
This is Jeremy Williams.
Hey, Jeremy. Yes, sir.
Yeah. When it comes down to it, the suspensions of the seniors for Brunswick has no impact unless they play another GHSA sport.
If they don't play another GHSA sport, there's not an opportunity for them to sit. That is correct.
The
Now,
juniors,
if they play another GHSA sport, those that are ejected have to sit out that sport, and those that are underclassmen would sit out next year.
so the underclassmen would sit out the first game of the season, which is very different than sitting out round 3 of a playoff.
Yes, sir, but that's following the bylaw.
I understand that. But to keep things equitable, would there be any consideration if we could remove the defensive players minus the 1 and the other 2 groups that are there, that carries over to the first game of next year?
That does not follow the bylaw as stated in the Constitution.
I understand that, but is that something that the Board of Trustees could address in the appeal?
If we made that decision, that would not follow the bylaw.
So let's assume all 39 of our players, that the ejections and suspensions are upheld. What's to keep my team? We would not do this, but what's to keep my team from trying to instigate something against Langston Hughes Friday night to put them in danger?
As you said,
or any other team that
I
has
would
nothing to
certainly
lose.
hope that's not the conversation in Gainesville right now.
I told you it was not, and it will never be. But I'm telling you, there are people across this state and across many other areas that are thinking, if I'm not getting my way, I can do something so egregious that if I get the other team to respond and react, self-defense doesn't matter.
And I would hope that wouldn't happen. If that happens, then we would take care of it from our office through the Constitution.
But what you're saying, though, is that you would just treat it the same way you're treating this.
No, sir, not necessarily. We'd have to look at each individual situation. It could be much worse than this.
So my request is that as the Board of Trustees has heard us, has seen the evidence, to consider if it's in there as a potential option to carry this suspension to the first game of next season, which would be equivalent to what is happening to Brunswick. That's all I ask.
There's
Adam,
nothing there. This is Alan Connell. There's nothing in the bylaws that would allow the trustees to do that.
Is there anything that prevents them from doing it?
The bylaws.
Dr. Scott, you've been a superintendent, correct?
Yes, sir.
You've dealt with tribunal appeals, haven't you?
Many, many.
Have you had boards that have decided something differently than the tribunal panel?
I've had a change in the discipline before, but it always followed the Board of Education policies.
Yes, but within that, there is room for the board to adjust discipline based on the evidence that they have and the circumstances surrounding that. So
Yes, sir. And there's evidence here that if a student did not participate or I got it wrong, they can allow that individual to participate. So what you're asking could actually be done there.
But what you're saying is it cannot be done here.
No, sir. Here, if they see an athlete that I got wrong, then they're welcome to change that. If there's one that did not participate, like 8, they were on the far end and they didn't come up enough, they feel that like that, and that's a number we've used, the trustees could vote that child's can participate.
But Dr. Scott, you just said come up enough. What is enough? Is it 5 yards?
They didn't get
10
to
yards?
the fight. In the fight,
but now the kids.
Mr. Williams, I'm not going to argue with you. You guys have laid this out, and we need to keep moving.
I appreciate that. Yes, sir. What I'd like to add as the last thing is to the Board of Trustees. We do appreciate your time. We know we do need to move on with this decision. We would prefer something that is equitable in nature. You've seen the list. You've seen Coach Niblett's heart. You've seen Adam's overview of our perspective. We just appreciate y'all's time.
Dr. Scott, at this time, I would like to ask the Board of Trustees, it does appear on the video that was on loop, and it was confirmed by Mr. Lindsay that number 8 and number 11 that were on the field of play They did not cross the 50. It appears that they stayed down on the left side of the field. And in that situation, they're on the field. There's nothing else they can do. And so I would like to make the recommendation to the trustees that number 8 and number 11, their suspension, their ejection is lifted.
That needs to be in the form of a motion.
I will make a motion that number 8 and number 11 suspension and ejection is lifted.
I'll second that motion.
All right, Michelle.
We do a roll call vote. So
that's right. I was just
Marvin, you'll need to call names and do a roll call vote so everybody knows who votes.
Before we move forward, can I just ask? We can still make another motion after this for something else, correct?
Yes, sir. We can make another motion after this. We're just taking care of these 2 players. If you guys have others you want a motion after this, and that is fine as well.
You need to be finishing up.
Hey, can we blow that video up to confirm that that was 8 and 11?
Brian, it's really hard to see, but it was confirmed with Adam, and I believe Steve did as well.
Steve did confirm that.
All right, so motion on the table is the ejection and suspension lifted for number 8 and number 11. Scarlett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Bobby Boynton, how do you vote? Yes. Eli Cadell? Eli?
Yes.
You're voting yes? Okay. Ryan Montgomery? Oh, he's on here.
Yeah.
Mike Thompson?
Yes.
Steve Sinton?
Yes.
Jose Fernandez?
Yes.
Michelle Masters?
Yes.
Virginia Montgomery? Virginia Montgomery?
Yes.
Kevin Petrosky?
Yes.
Jim Finch?
He's not on the call anymore.
Okay, Kurt? Yes.
Yes.
All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 11. Unanimous.
Trustees, anyone else have a motion or discussion?
I'll tell you, I'd like to make a motion for the other 8 players on the field to save time instead of calling out their individual numbers. I will call them out just to make sure. 3, 6, 7, 10, 20, 21, 26, 51. Did I miss anybody?
So that's 3, 6, 7, 10, 20, 21, 26, and 51.
It's kind of hard to hear you a little bit, but I'll say it again just to make sure. 3, 6, 7, 10, 20, 21, 26, 51.
Got it.
I would make a motion to overturn their ejections, the ones that were on the field already.
I second that.
I second it.
Okay.
Hey, Marvin.
Sir.
You want me to call names? They're having a hard time hearing you.
You can, that's fine.
All right, I'll call the names.
Can we see that color-coded list of numbers again? Because if I'm not mistaken, somewhere along here it was said one of the players that was on the field did participate in the fight. And
He's
if I
not
did
been
my
included.
math,
He's not been included in that.
okay, I was just making sure because
Yeah, he wasn't one of those numbers.
Okay, you guys ready? I'll start calling names.
Can we still see that list?
Yeah, put the
Because
list up, Marvin.
In the
we're
video
saying that
again.
what, eight others, we're
Yeah,
trying to
I need to see the
overturn
video
8
again.
others. Yeah,
The
because clearly it
chart.
was 7 others that ran to the fight.
Yeah, I see jerseys on the field running towards the fight as well. So I would like to also see the video again.
All right, Marvin, the video.
Yeah, I can't get him on board with us, the whole defense that we just called out.
This
There
would be
has to be an end zone. There has to be a video.
There is not a bylaw about running players on the field attempting to de-escalate the situation. And so, to me, if they weren't an active participant in the fight, a player on the field, it should be with pulling their teammates away. And so, moving toward the action for a person on the field is not an automatic ejection. And so, that's why that's why I felt like that group deserved our scrutiny the most. And so that's why I made the motion.
But there's Eli, you asked earlier. I'm sorry, this is Michelle Masters. You asked earlier about if Gainesville, and I agree, had anything to show, any other videos or anything to show that their defensive players were not involved. Because I'm all for them not being ejected, but right now I can't tell that they weren't involved.
Same. And I see several of those players down there.
I get what you say. I didn't see them involved. And so, all I was going off is by what I saw. Running to the edge, to me, I mean, it's just my opinion. I get where you're coming from. I'm just saying,
What are the numbers of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are down there in the end zone right now? I think those kids were already. I don't see video evidence to discredit what the state office has given us. I mean,
I don't think we're trying to discredit anyone. I mean, state office has done a great job. I think we're looking to see is there an appeal to this situation, and that's all I was going by. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I understand, Scarlett, where you're coming from, but I can't see the numbers, see who was involved, and since the defense was on the field, we know that they're not going to go off the field, but I don't know if they were involved. So I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, those 11 players that were on the field.
10 players. Because one of them was active in the fight.
Right, and they said that one.
Yes.
So they could have not said that one, I guess.
Correct.
Is where I'm coming from. So I'm going to assume that the other 10 were not involved. But I don't know because there is no numbers to say. There's no video to say not, but they were legitimately on the field. And kids are not going to go off the field. No, they should not have come on the field. But the ones that are on the field, to me, they're not going to go off the field.
And there's no officials report that says anyone that was on the field was ejected from Gainesville.
Correct.
That is correct.
Well, I seconded Eli's proposal. I don't know if his motion just for that.
Correct. There's a motion and a second to overturn the defensive players' ejections. Dr. Scott, you'll do a roll call?
I will call roll. Scarlett Grantham,
No.
Bobby Brewington,
Yes.
Eli Connell,
Yes.
Brian Montgomery,
No.
Michael Thompson,
No.
Steve Simpson,
No.
Michelle Masters, I know she was on here.
No.
Okay, was that Michelle?
Yes.
Okay. Regina Montgomery,
Yes.
Kevin Petrosky,
Yes.
Kurt Miller,
No.
and Jim Finch. Oh, he's not here, is he? Okay. And then Steve and Jose abstain.
Motion fails. What's we got? Motion fails.
Kurt is 6-4. Motion failed.
Marvin, do you have that?
Marvin.
Tim, were there the other group, I guess the final group to discuss is was it 18 that left the sideline? Was that the number?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I know the other, I guess we had two that with our two guys, and then the rest of the defense, you decided that they would be ejected, but there's two guys that got their helmets ripped off that are standing in the middle. So you're ejecting those two guys too, right?
Coach, the motion was all of the remaining defensive players. They were not listed individually.
We can make more motions, that's correct though, right? We're not limited to one or two motions, right?
But okay, I got you.
I mean,
26 and 20 would be the ones that, and then 10 that's our corner, stays over there on the sideline also.
I definitely would like, to look at the potential of another motion for the two players that had their helmets ripped.
Yeah. Hey, Kurt, you
Yes,
can
sir.
make, that motion denied those 8. If they want to select another player or another couple of players, that is perfectly fine.
Correct. That was just one motion. We can make more.
Right. That is correct.
And I think, Mr. Scott, we've got to have some type of proof that they weren't involved. I mean, we can make a motion for all of them, but if it's going to come out the same if we don't see a number
That's
that
correct.
they were not involved.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, let me ask a question, and I agree with what Regina's saying, but where is the proof that they were involved? I guess my thing is,
Where's the end zone camera footage? There has to be end zone camera footage.
Well, I agree with that 100%.
And I think that would show us.
But what are you considering involved? Standing there watching? Because you jogged down there or went over there toward that area? That's what I'm asking.
Those players that ran toward the fight and
Even
got
if they
in the
didn't
crowd,
participate.
You say that, but there's no proof that I can see they didn't participate. They're in the middle of it. That's why I made the decision. That's why there's an appeal process.
And in this situation, I understand you're saying we're not providing proof that they didn't participate, but at no point was there ever proof provided that they did participate. The ruling was just a blanket, hey, everybody that's out there is ejected.
So again, I'm going to ask, where is there has to be some footage from the end zone that will show us a better angle. Why have we not seen that? Even if people think it's not clear, why have we not seen that so that we can determine for ourselves?
Adam, what were the numbers of the two players that had their helmets ripped off?
Number 20 and number 26.
I'll make a motion that number 20 and 26 not be suspended, or that
I'll second that.
So are we saying that 20 and 26 did not participate in hitting or shoving anyone? Adam, is that what we're saying?
I'm saying they shouldn't be ejected.
Okay, I know, right, but did they participate in hitting or pushing someone?
I mean, I'll tell you, Regina, I saw that video pretty clear there. And I mean, it prompted me to ask, were assault charges filed? I mean, to me, that was a violent attack on those two kids. And I did not see, I mean, they had their hands up in the air.
Okay.
So from what I witnessed, I felt like they did not participate in the fight.
Okay.
If Regina, seriously, if your helmet gets ripped off and you're getting punched in the face, what more were those kids supposed to do?
I'm not debating whether or not I got a son who I used to tell, if somebody hits you, you better hit them back or else don't come home. Check your consequences. I get that. But what I'm saying is if we're saying, are we saying it was okay because they got their helmets ripped off, that and the melee came about because everyone else came on the field? I just want to know so I can know how to vote. The motion's been made. I just wanted to clarify so I could know how to vote.
So Kurt, we've had a motion and a second, correct?
Yes, sir.
And as to allow 20 and 26 to continue, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, we'll roll call vote. Scarlett?
Yes.
Bobby Brewington?
Yes.
Eli Connell? Eli?
Yes.
Brian Montgomery?
No.
Michael Thompson?
Yes.
Stephen Simpson?
Yes.
Michelle Masters?
Yes.
Regina Montgomery?
Yes.
Kevin Petrosky?
Yes.
Kurt Miller?
Yes.
Okay, 9-1. Motion passed 9-1.
So basically we've just said that 8, 11, 20, and 26 are all able to participate. The other, whatever, 7 are not, right?
That's where we're at right now. Yes, ma'am.
6 are not defensive players. Okay.
So we basically just double voted. We just, we didn't approve we didn't approve Eli's motion, which had those kids included, and now we just came back and said that those kids are okay.
But only
So 1 minute we couldn't decide, and now we're saying it, and I hear what everybody's saying. Because if my helmet was yanked off, it's not to say that you know, I'm gonna defend myself or not, but from hearing the talk, and if we promoting self-defense, and we saying we have to stand up for our brothers and all this type stuff, I don't know if it's football, if we talking about gang stuff here, but trying to promote this and what actions were going on with not seeing or verifying this, I think is gonna open up a can of worms for a lot of other situations that have occurred, because this is not the first time we've had a bench clearing brawl. And now with not being able to clearly determine what's what, and it wasn't presented, and I know we keep asking, where's the film? But this is a situation where evidence should be promoted, should already be set to show to us to help prove their point. And now we're still looking for stuff that we're gonna sit up here and can't definitively say whether it is or not, and now we're double voting on stuff, it's gonna open up a can of worms.
All right, I'll take any other motions or discussion? I'll make a motion that the remaining defenders, 51, 3, 6, 7, is that 10? I'm sorry, is that 18 or 10? I can't read my own handwriting. Of the ones that's left between 8 and 11.
That's
It was on
10.
I think what you can do is you can say the appeals other than for players 8, 11, 20, and 26 be denied.
That sounds great.
I second.
If that's what you're trying to do, I'm not
It is.
suggesting anything else.
That's exactly what I was trying to do.
All right,
Did I get
Kurt,
a
we
second
had a
on-
motion and a second.
Who was
I'll
the
do
second?
roll call vote. Scarlett,
Yes.
Bobby Brewington. Bobby. I know he was on there. We'll come back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I had it on mute. No.
Eli,
Yes.
Brian Montgomery,
Yes.
Michael Thompson,
Yes.
Stephen Simpson,
To make sure I'm clear, yes means we're denying their appeal, right?
Correct.
that is correct.
Yes.
Michelle Masters,
Yes.
Regina Montgomery,
Yes.
Kevin Petrosky,
No.
Kurt Miller,
Yes.
8-2.
motion denied, 8-2.
The motion was passed.
Motion passed 8-2. I'm
The
sorry.
motion passed.
Yeah, motion passed 8-2.
2 to 9.
That concludes it.
All right, the appeal of the sideline, the student athletes that came off of the sideline, any discussion?
Wait, excuse me. I'm sorry. I thought we just voted for everyone except for those 4
Me
that we
too.
just changed.
We
Me
did.
too.
Yeah.
And that included the sideline, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
That's it,
Okay.
right?
Got it. Any other, Dr. Scott or Adams, is there any other business we need to address?
I'm sorry?
Is there any other discussion?
My knowledge, Dr. Williams, do you have anything?
I do not. I just appreciate everybody taking time today to last hour and a half out of your schedules to be with us. We definitely are disappointed in some of the outcomes here today, but we do appreciate your time nonetheless.
All right, Kurt, there's nothing from the office.
Hey, my audio's going in and out. I'm kind of dropping y'all's. So we're done?
Make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
I got it.
All those in favor to adjourn? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank y'all.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Recording stopped.